She was only 9 years old when she was sold like an object. No one asked if she had dreams. No one wanted to know if she was afraid. With eyes as blue as the sky after the storm, she was taken to a place where girls stopped being children to become symbols of perfection and silence. But what no one imagined was that this fragile girl would become the most beautiful and desired geisha in all Japan. Yes, this story is real. It's dramatic, forbidden, and exciting. And there's a detail that few people know. One of the most powerful men in the empire fell in love with her. An impossible love, a dangerous love, a love that challenged tradition and the honor of an entire nation. Get ready to meet Aiko, the blue-eyed geisha who made even the coldest of generals surrender. But before you go any further, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. This story will move you from start to finish. And when it's over, you won't be able to get out of your head. Now, take a deep breath, and let's get started. Translated with DeepL.com, free version. Aiko was born from a mistake. Her mother was only 16 when she fell for the sweet words of an older man who promised marriage, a future, and love. He disappeared as soon as he found out she was pregnant. Her mother was kicked out of the house, but after days of sleeping on the street, her own mother, Aiko's grandmother, allowed her to return under one condition. The child would never be accepted as part of the family. Aiko was born on a silent early morning. She had blue eyes, an inheritance from a Russian grandmother on her father's side, whom she would never meet. No one liked those eyes. In a village where everyone had dark eyes, that girl looked like a mistake. And every mistake has a price. Her mother did everything she could to love her. She worked washing clothes in a river, earned almost nothing, yet shared everything she had with her daughter. The girl grew up shy, sensitive, and quiet. People stared at her in the streets, as if she didn't belong. When she turned 9, winter was crueler than usual. Food was scarce, water froze, and the grandmother said every day that it would have been better if Aiko had never been born. Her mother cried in silence, trying to protect her daughter from the world and from her own family. One gray morning, a strange woman appeared in the village. She wore expensive clothes, held a black umbrella, and gloves that hid her hands. She said she was looking for young girls to serve in a wealthy house in the city. She promised food, clean clothes, education, and a better future. Tired of poverty and humiliation, Aiko's mother thought this might be her daughter's chance at a dignified life. But the woman didn't speak to her. She spoke directly to the grandmother. That night, it rained heavily. Aiko's mother woke up to find her daughter gone. She searched every corner of the house, screamed, cried. She found the grandmother sitting before the altar, holding an envelope. Inside were a few coins and a piece of paper with an address. Aiko had been sold, not taken. Sold. No goodbyes, no hugs, no certainty. The mother ran through the village, but no one knew anything. The woman with the umbrella had already left. She had taken Aiko away in a covered cart, as if transporting merchandise. The girl didn't cry. She was afraid, but believed she was going to work in a beautiful house, just like they said. She carried only a small bundle of used clothes and a cloth doll her mother had sewn from leftover fabric. The house she arrived at wasn't a house. It was an okiya, a place where girls were trained to become geishas. But Aiko didn't know that. She was just a child, torn from her mother and thrown into a world she didn't understand. On the first night, they took her doll. On the second day, they cut part of her hair and told her she now belonged to Madame Kiyori. Aiko began training every day, dancing, posture, obedience, silence. Every mistake came with punishment, kneeling for hours, sleeping without food, being hit with a bamboo stick. The other girls whispered about her. No one understood her eyes. Some envied her. Others feared her. Madam watched her in silence, writing everything down in a black notebook. Over time, Aiko learned to smile even when it hurt. She learned not to tremble, not to question, not to cry. Her past began to fade inside her. The image of her mother crying in that wet shack became a distant memory, like a sad dream she never woke up from. Aiko became the most talked about Maiko in the city. Even before becoming a geisha, men came just to see her dance. They wanted to touch her, but Madam forbade it. She was saving Aiko for something greater. Then, at 13, a proposal arrived. An important man, wealthy and powerful, wanted Aiko as his exclusive geisha. He offered a fortune. Madam accepted before even asking Aiko. She had no choice. That night, Madam called her to the room. She handed her a new kimono, red as blood, and said it would be the night Aiko stopped being a child. The girl didn't reply. She only looked in the mirror and saw a doll with eyes that didn't match the painted face. The man arrived at midnight. He drank sake, praised her beauty, tried to touch her. But when he looked into her eyes, he pulled back. "You look like you're not really here," he said, confused. Aiko only replied with a hollow smile, because she wasn't there anymore. Her soul had stayed behind, that rainy night when she was sold for a handful of coins. Her mother never heard from her again. She searched for months, went to the big city, begged for help, but was ignored by everyone. She died of grief 2 years later, never knowing her daughter's fate. Aiko, now called the Sky-Eyed Geisha, became a legend among the powerful. Everyone wanted to see her. None could truly reach her, because no one was really there anymore. She had become exactly what they wanted, perfect, cold, desired. But her heart was an empty house. And no one ever knew the true price she paid for those eyes so many admired. Aiko was now 14 years old. Her name was known throughout Kyoto. The wealthiest men paid absurd amounts just to watch her serve tea with elegance. Her skin was porcelain, her gestures calculated, her gaze indecipherable. Everyone spoke of the blue-eyed geisha as if she were a myth, a living legend. But inside, Aiko was only silence. She no longer remembered the sound of her mother's voice. The affection she once knew had become a distant fog. The only constant presence in her life was Madame Kiyori, who now displayed her like a trophy. No other geisha received such intense training. None were watched so closely. Aiko lived under strict rules. She couldn't laugh out loud. She couldn't eat with pleasure. She couldn't run. Every step was rehearsed. Every breath measured. And yet, when she dressed for performances, it seemed everything about her was natural, a perfection built on pain. In the Okiya, the other girls admired and hated her at the same time. They knew she was a favorite, but they also saw the emptiness in her eyes. They knew something in Aiko was broken, something no amount of money or fine kimonos could hide. At 15, she was taken to Tokyo for the first time. A mysterious man with political influence and military power had requested her for a private event. Madame Kiyori prepared her for weeks, as if preparing an offering for a cruel god. The room was golden. Aiko entered in silence, accompanied by 2 guards. All eyes turned to her. The man sat in the center. When his eyes met hers, he said nothing. He just nodded and ordered wine to be served. For hours, Aiko stayed there, dancing, serving, pretending to be something she was not. But the man never touched her. He just watched. And the more he watched, the more serious he became. After performance, he ordered everyone to leave. That night, something unexpected happened. He didn't dishonor her. He simply asked her to sit and told the story of his daughter, who had died at the age of 9. He said Aiko's eyes were just like hers. He said that when he looked at Aiko, he felt something he couldn't explain. Aiko didn't reply. She just lowered her head. But inside, for the first time in years, she felt something different. It wasn't affection. It wasn't hope. It was recognition. A strained connection to pain. From that day on, the man visited her often. He never tried to possess her. He sent expensive gifts, old books, sweets she didn't eat but kept. He also sent a porcelain doll with blue eyes. Aiko hid it under her futon, like a secret no one could discover. Madame Kiyori began to suspect. She knew Aiko was no longer just an exhibit. She was becoming a symbol. And symbols are dangerous. Symbols create stories. They create freedom. Afraid of losing control, Madame forbade her from leaving the Okiya. She canceled appointments. Said Aiko needed rest. But the truth was she was being watched day and night. Aiko began writing on small papers that she hid between the pages of books. She wrote about her childhood, about the rain the night she was taken, about the mother who might no longer be alive. She wrote to not forget who she was. But one day, Madame found the papers. She tore them all up, ordered them burned, called Aiko ungrateful, weak, rebellious. And that night, the punishment was different. They took away her mirror, the most precious symbol for a geisha. Without a mirror, she couldn't prepare herself. Without a mirror, she was no one. But Aiko no longer needed mirrors. She knew every line of her own face, knew every wound, every shadow inside her. And then at 16, she did the unthinkable. During an event, when everyone expected a performance, she appeared with a bare face. No makeup, no kimono, no smile. She walked to the center of the room and simply stood there, silent, real, human. The room froze. Madame screamed from the back. But the man was there, the same one who saw his daughter in her. And he was the one who stood up, walked to Aiko, and embraced her. The crowd didn't understand. Madame collapsed to her knees. That night, Aiko was taken away, not as property, but as someone who had been freed. The man took her far away, to a house in the countryside where no one knew her name. There, she was called simply Aiko. For the first time in years, she could be herself. But freedom didn't last long. Madame Kiyori couldn't accept losing her star geisha. She began spreading lies. Said Aiko had been kidnapped, that she was sick, that she had run away with a client. Lies turned into rumors, and rumors became a hunt. Aiko lived in hiding for months. Her blue eyes, once admired, now had to be concealed. She wore dark glasses, avoided windows, walked through the back alleys. And in the midst of fear, something happened. She discovered she was pregnant. The man, though already old, cried when he heard. He said life was finally giving something back. He said he would protect the child with all he had. But Aiko knew the risk. She knew Madame would never forgive, that she would come after them. And on the night she turned 17, Aiko wrote a letter, not to the man, but to the daughter who hadn't yet been born. She told her everything, from the day she was taken, the smell of the rain, the pain of loneliness, and the miracle of being alive despite it all. She ended the letter with a sentence, "You will be free, even if I cannot be." The next day, Aiko disappeared. The man searched everywhere, but all he found was the porcelain doll on the bed, with a blue ribbon in its hair. Aiko had left alone, perhaps to protect her daughter, perhaps to escape the darkness that still surrounded her, or perhaps to find, somewhere in the world, the piece of herself that was taken at age 9. But one thing was certain, the sky-eyed geisha would never be forgotten. Aiko was already 17 years old. Time had passed without mercy, taking away what little was left of her childhood. Her name was now known among the most powerful men in Japan. Her image was celebrated, but no one knew the price she paid in silence. Her soul, still marked by the scars of soiled childhood, was a prisoner in a world where beauty was currency. On a spring night, A private event brought together only the most influential names of the empire. Among them was Hayato, heir to a political family that controlled half the country. Young, cultured, wealthy, and engaged the daughter of a minister. When Hayato's eyes met Aiko's, something uncontrollable happened. He didn't see a geisha. He saw a girl with the soul of a woman, with eyes silently crying for freedom. Hayato began attending every event where she appeared. He sent hidden flowers, slipped in notes with poems. Aiko, afraid of retaliation, ignored it all. But for the first time, her heart raced not from fear, but from something else. His presence reminded her there was still something alive within her. Madame Kiyori sensed the danger. She ordered Aiko to be sent to another district, where she'd have no contact with anyone. Aiko cried alone. She didn't want to lose the only light that had entered her life. Hayato, desperate, tried to buy her freedom. He offered a fortune, but Kiyori refused. She said Aiko was the rarest gem of her empire. To her, Aiko wasn't a person. She was a showcase. On a rainy night, Aiko was forcibly taken to a distant temple, where she would spend months in isolation, being reconditioned to forget Hayato. There, she slept on a cold floor without mirrors, without perfume, without art. They tried to erase everything that made her special. But there was one thing they couldn't control, her blue eyes. Meanwhile, Hayato stopped smiling. He broke off his engagement, left politics, vanished from the media. He began to live with only one goal, to find her again. He hired people, investigated routes, bribed servants. His love became obsession. One night, he got a lead. Aiko would be at a private ceremony, dressed in a black kimono embroidered with red cherry blossoms. He went, entered in secret, and when she appeared, different, cold, restrained, her eyes still sparkled. Hayato couldn't hold back. He stepped forward in the silence and simply looked at her. Aiko trembled, but said nothing. Only a single tear fell from her blue eyes. The next day, she disappeared. Kiyori woke up to the guards announcing, Aiko was gone. There was no note, no trace. Only the porcelain doll with blue eyes left on the futon, and beside the doll a single cherry blossom petal resting on the pillow. The entire country talked about the disappearance. Hayato vanished too. Some said they had escaped to another country. Others said she was dead, but no version was ever confirmed. What was known for sure was that the most beautiful geisha in Japan was never seen again. Aiko woke up every day beside Hayato, feeling something that once seemed impossible, peace. He was gentle, attentive, and even though he knew she had escaped a dark past, he never pressured her. To him, she was free, and for the first time, she felt loved. Hayato took her on trips far from the city. They traveled by train, walked along trails, ate simple sweets at local fairs. And when he smiled at her, she felt her heart warm. She had never imagined someone could look at her with so much affection. But there were nights when Aiko simply cried. Sometimes he'd find her sitting on the porch, her blue eyes lost in the sky, silent, sad. Aiko had kept that secret for a long time, not out of shame, but fear. Fear of reliving the pain of being forced to give up her own daughter while she was still a baby. One afternoon, while walking through a field of wildflowers, Aiko suddenly stopped. Her blue eyes were filled with tears. Hayato, I need to tell you something. He turned to her, concerned. She took a deep breath and spoke with a trembling voice. I have a daughter. She must be around 2 years old now. I never knew where she was. I had to leave her with a father, afraid Madam would find out and turn her into a prisoner, like she did with me. Hayato remained silent, not from judgment, but from pain, the pain of seeing her suffer so deeply. He stepped closer and held her hands. We'll find her. You're not alone anymore. Aiko broke down. She cried into his chest like she never had before. In that moment, she felt there might be a chance, not just to live, but to begin again. But on the other side of the city, the woman who had once sold her hadn't given up, And now, she knew exactly where Aiko was. The past was coming back, and what Aiko feared the most was about to happen. The madam's body was found lifeless, collapsed in her room. Her heart had stopped, alone, cold, surrounded by all the riches that had never managed to warm her empty soul. She, who had spent her life buying girls to feel like they were hers, died without anyone ever calling her mother, friend, or even woman. The silence at the end was the only thing she had left. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, Aiko, the little Korean girl with eyes as blue as the sea, now a woman, felt the wind brushing her face like an answer from fate. The past had left deep scars, but Hayato's love was healing them with care and patience. Despite her new life by his side, her heart still ached with longing for the daughter she had been forced to leave behind. Time had passed. Aiko had changed, but a mother she always remained. One day, a knock at the door. It was Takeshi, the child's father, aged, hunched over, holding a small hand. The rain fell gently that afternoon. The day fate finally reunited hearts torn apart by pain. Aiko, now a more mature face, but still with the delicate beauty and unmistakable blue eyes that marked her story, felt her knees weaken when she heard the voice that echoed behind her. "Hello, dear Aiko. I've been looking for you for a long time." Her heart raced, as if something sacred was about to happen. In front of her, a gray-haired man held the hand of a 9-year-old girl with deep blue eyes. The same eyes she saw every night in her dreams. The same eyes she once carried within her. "Aiko, this is your daughter," the man said with a trembling voice and teary eyes. "She looks for you in her dreams, calls for you while she sleeps. I hear her say your name every night. I don't have the strength anymore. Aiko, this child needs her mother. It's time for you to be together again." Before Aiko could say anything, Hayato stepped forward, visibly moved. "He's the one who found us, Aiko. He was looking for me. He said he needed to find his wife's daughter and bring her home. Our daughter's name is Hannah." The man knelt before Aiko and held her hand with humility. "I'm an old man now, and it's not fair to keep you apart. Hannah has your eyes, your soul. She is the love of my life, but I can't give her what only a mother can. I want her to be happy, and she'll only be happy by your side." Tears streamed down Aiko's face. She knelt and looked into Hannah's eyes, as if staring into a mirror from the past. The little girl hesitated for a second, then threw herself into her mother's arms with all the strength in the world, as if trying to glue back the years that had been stolen from them. "Don't ever leave me again," the girl whispered, her face buried in Aiko's shoulder. The old man cried in silence. Hayato, too. Aiko held her daughter tightly against her chest, trying to hold back the sobs, feeling that something inside her was finally healing. There, under that gray sky, with cherry blossom petals beginning to fall around them, mother and daughter were reunited. No more cages, no more fear, no more chains, only love. Later, they learned Madame had been found collapsed on the golden floor of her room, surrounded by jewelry, money, and gold. Alone, eyes open, motionless, she who had traded lives for power, departed surrounded by riches, but with no one to hold her hand. Aiko, Hayato, and Hannah were far away, starting a new life. Together, a simple life, but full of love, health, and hope. The kind of life Madame could never buy. Hayato, with tears in his eyes, knelt beside the two of them. He knew their family was finally complete. Aiko kissed the girl's forehead and whispered, "I will never leave you again." Months later, they opened a small traditional dance school. Aiko taught with grace. Her daughter smiled as she learned the steps, and Hayato tended the gardens with steady hands and a protective gaze. The painful past became wisdom, the present became healing, and the future, hope. They had no castles, but they had a home, No gold, but they had health, love, and the blue eyes of a Korean girl, now full of life, enchanting everyone around her. Aiko's story became a legend. A girl sold at age 9, who survived captivity, found true love, and after everything, was able to hold her daughter in her arms and call her daughter forever. If this story has touched your heart, share and subscribe.
Se essa história
Comment
tocou
with a
seu
blue
coração,
heart if you
curta,
believe in the power of
compartilhe e
love
se
and
inscreva.
starting
Comente
over.
com um coração azul se você acredita no poder do amor e do recomeço.